All right, folks. So we have navigated to the census site. We have found the API-based URL endpoint that we are interested in. We've navigated to it, and we have added our .html to land us here at this lovely little page where we have got some information about this data set that's available to us. Okay, so first thing we want to do is we're going to look at our groups list to really quickly get an idea on what table level data is available to us. I'm specifically interested in this example. I'm going to look at occupancy status, but you could look at any one of these tables that you wanted to. Okay, but my table is going to be occupancy status, which is called H3 in specific. That's what I am interested in pulling from. Okay, I also have some geography level attributes that I can account for here too. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the examples so that we can look at those a little bit. So I could look at it across the United States. I could look at it divided by region, by division, by county, what have you. For the purposes of this example, I'm going to look at it by division. Okay. And you'll see on the website that I do it by Vermont. So we'll do both examples here. I'll start with Vermont to give us that one, and then I'll look at it by division. Okay, so the quickest way to figure out how to limit our data, one of the things that we will need to do in our API call is make sure that we're structuring it properly. So part of how we do this is to figure out, well, if I want only data for a particular state, well, how would I do that? Okay. So really quickly, I can see here I've got state. If I click on this, it's going to give me the name and the state FIPS code for all of the states available to me. So I can really quickly see here that 50 is the state code for Vermont. Okay. I'm going to go back really quickly. I could do this again at any level of geography. If I were to click on division, it would show me the divisions available to me: New England, Mid-Atlantic, yada, yada. Okay. So I am going to now quickly use this. I'm going to click this, open in a new tab. Okay. And instead of doing state 06, which is California, I'm going to do state 50, which is Vermont. Okay, great. All right. So right now I've just gotten the name, but what I actually really want here is I want that table or that group H3. Okay. So now what I've returned is a table that provides me the housing occupancy information for Vermont. So this may not look like much to me at the moment, but if I were to go ahead and go back into my data a little bit, okay, here's my occupancy status table. If I were to open this up, oops, wrong one. Here we go. Okay. So I can see here, and I'll pull these out so that they're right next to each other. All right. So this table, this group H3, which I've called, okay, in the get portion of my query. Here's my base URL, which I replaced that .html with a question mark, and then my requirements starting with get and for. Okay, which tells it what state I want. Okay, so I've gotten group H3, which corresponds to this lovely table, okay, that I determined I wanted, and this selected group of variables. All right, so I can see that. We're going to copy this data really quickly, and let's go ahead and put it into an Excel spreadsheet. Right. So it did come in with some formatting that, I can look at this visually and I can get an idea, but I'm going to actually do some quick editing here. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly do a find and replace. All right. Just to get rid of some of the noise here that I don't need. And then I'm going to get rid of the question marks. All right. So now I've got a clean little CSV formatted set of data. I could do my text to columns. It's comma separated. All right. So it doesn't come in perfectly, but I've got now, let's see. So H3001N is total housing units. So I'm going to rename this for simplicity. Housing units. Okay. Annotation, if any. This is total occupied. And this is total vacant. Okay. So if I wanted to do a ratio of vacancy, I could do that really quickly here. I could say the total number of vacant units divided by total, available. I want to make sure I do this properly so that it comes out as a percentage. Okay. So it looks like overall 18% or almost 19% of the housing units in Vermont are vacant. It's pretty alarming. Okay. Well, what happens if I was interested in this at the county level? I'm going to rename this quickly, Vermont housing occupancy. Okay. And instead now I'm going to want to do it at the county level. So I'm going to go back head in here into my query, and I'm going to look at the example again. Okay. So the last time I just did it at the state level, but let's look at it at the county level. So I already know what state I want to do. Okay. So I'm going to click this one right here. I'm going to replace the state ampersand here with 50 and then return. Okay. It's going to give me all counties inclusive. And now it's going to replace this get equals name. And so I want to tell it I want group H3 again for my table. And we'll see what happens. Okay. And just like that, I was able to return all of the data on available and, vacant housing stock in the state of Vermont by county. So let's go ahead and let's put this on the spreadsheet really quickly. I'm going to paste this. All right, I'm going to do that find and replace again real quickly. It's not very elegant, but you know what? It works fast. And these are small data sets. For the purposes of this video, we're gonna stick with it. Right. And then I have this one. Okay. And again, I do this to get rid of all the noise so that I can quickly do a text to columns on my data. Where is it? There we go. Okay. All right, there we go. So again, it looks like this one didn't fully come in, so I'm just going to shift everything one. This is state name. Okay. Again, I could really quickly rename this total housing units, total occupied, and total vacant. Okay. So now I've got this great little table of data. I'm going to save it. Vermont County housing. All right. So let's say instead of looking, so now we know that 18% overall at the state level, but let's say we're interested in how this might differ by county, and get a sense of what that might look like. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually import this data into Tableau. So this is mod 5, housing occupancy in Vermont. All right, so I'm going to head on over to my Tableau public. Okay, I'm signed in already. If I'm not, I will go through that process. I'm going to create a quick viz. I'm going to point to that data. Maybe. There it is. Okay, so it's going to look at that Excel worksheet, and I'll go ahead and pull this onto my stage and take a quick peek at it. Okay, looks like everything is there. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly create a map. All right, so it looks like it didn't automatically identify each of these as a county. So I'm going to go ahead and go in and tell it these are counties. All right. And this is a geographic ID, but it doesn't look like it has one there. Okay. So now I've got my counties here. I could create a table. I could look at the total number of housing units. Obviously, some counties have more than others. I could, quickly sort this if I wanted to. Okay. I could look at the total number of vacant units, for example, as a percentage. Instead, if I wanted to see this on a map, I could say, well, show me how many each county has. Obviously, this map is a little bit incomplete. All right, so right now let me just pull this on here so we see what we're looking at. Okay, so the darker the color, the more vacant housing units we have. Now we're missing a couple things on here, and I'm wondering why they're not showing up. Well, I've got a couple counties that aren't showing up. They are in the data though. So I will have to come back and figure out why that is happening, where we're missing these 3 counties. I'm going to continue for the purposes of this exercise, and then I will follow up. Okay, so what I've done here is I've just selected my geography, which is my county, and I've put my number of vacant housing units as my feature, so I can understand which counties have more vacant housing units than others. Okay, and this is as a raw number. Well, let's say I wanted to create that ratio here. I could quickly do a calculated field, and I could say vacancy ratio. Okay, and so then I have my vacant units divided by my total units. Okay, and I could do this by 100. All right. So now if I were to change my color to the vacancy ratio, well, something has shifted. What has shifted? There's less housing units up here in Great Isles, but there's more of them vacant as a percentage of what they have overall. So overall, look at this right here. So there's 5,000, some odd units, and 2,000 of them are considered vacant. So though it is a smaller county and there's less overall housing stock, what ends up happening is that it has a higher ratio. So for the purposes of this exercise, we're just kind of exploring, and we're not going to be able to dive too deeply into this. I'm also having an issue with my Zoom. There we go. All right. But just to get a quick idea on what's available to us here once we've pulled data out of the census. Okay, so I'm going to head back over here really quickly just to kind of recap. We started off here at the census website. We looked at specifically the decennial census and the demographic and health housing characteristics. we looked at the examples that they provide us by geography and started with just calling for our state what we wanted. We came here, we began this process, came through, and we said, oops. So, okay, well, we're in state 50. You're going to choose whatever state you want. And then we said, well, we want a particular table. We want you to get group H3, which we had examined earlier and we already knew was, you know, this data that we have here, an occupancy status. Now, for example, what if I wanted to instead get urban and rural? I could do that very easily by just changing this one piece here. Okay. Same thing if I wanted to do it at the county level. I could very easily come over here to my other query and change it at the county level. So once we get a few basics in here with our understanding of how to structure an API call using HTML on the census website, we can really quickly pull anything we want. Okay, so now I've got this new data set. I'm going to add it to my housing occupancy. I don't really know what it is yet, but I'll examine it in a second. Okay, so if I were to go to H2, okay, so this is my urban versus rural now. So again, I'm going to just do my little find and replace thing here for simplicity. All right, I think we're good to go. I'll do my text to columns. And again, we're just, you know, quickly examining data. You know, this is not a deep dive. All right, again, this doesn't for some reason come out right, but this is state name. Okay, so this first one is the total housing units again. Okay, this one is total urban, total rural, and then it says total not defined. Okay, I'm going to save this one. I'm going to rename this as Vermont County Rural Urban. And I've got another set of data. Okay, I'm going to close this out. I'm going to head back over to my Tableau. Where did it go? There we are. Okay, I'm gonna name this as the total housing units in Vermont by county. Okay, and here I've just got vacant units. Okay, now I'm going to add another data source. Okay, clicked over on data source, came on over to plus, upload from my computer. We'll go ahead and open it. And I'll go ahead and drag that new data set over here. Data, okay, looks good. All right, so I'm going to go into a new tab real quick. It's going to take a little bit of time to think. Okay. So again, I'm going to tell it that my name is geographic role is county. Pull it on here. It's still not picking up a large number of them. That's okay. We'll address that later. Okay. So we could look first if, say, we wanted to see who had the most total housing units. If I were to pull this on the label, it would show me total number of housing units. Great, good to know. Okay. How about the total number that are rural as a percentage? Okay, so I'm going to quickly create a calculated field, and I will say percent rural. Okay, we'll do rural divided by total. Oops. And then we'll change this and we'll get a different idea on the counties where we can see, you know, the percentage that are considered rural versus not. Some of them it's everybody because nothing is considered to be a city or a town. Okay, so I'm gonna stop there for the purposes of this exercise. Rural by county. Okay, went through a couple of different ways to pull out this census data, and I look forward to talking to you guys soon.